Welcome to Sisters United, Episode 1. I'm Ciora LeGrand, and first and foremost, as always, I want to give my supporters of Sisters the appreciation they deserve. Thank you all for everything you are doing to support the movement of Sisters United. It is not going unnoticed. Now, in this first episode, we're going to discuss the struggles of the African American and lower socioeconomic trans women, as well as some live footage from the streets, followed by some current news. Now, growing up in an African American household that was not trans educated had to be one of the hardest things to bear. I was afraid to be who I truly was. I had to uphold the oldest sibling duties, which in my home meant masculinity from the oldest son. During the beginning phases of my transition, around 9 years old, I would dress up when no one was home. Well, that was before I got caught by my stepfather, who in turn criticized me and told my mother and younger siblings, thus diminishing my authority as the oldest sibling. I was tormented beyond belief by the one group of people I thought loved me unconditionally, my family. But I don't blame them. I blame society for the stereotypes they placed upon us, centuries of not knowing and understanding. My family had no idea how to handle the situation, and as a child, neither did I. As I reached my teen years, things only got worse with the verbal and mental abuse, sometimes physical, from my siblings. I began lashing out and running away from home to the streets to be around trans women like myself. But the downside to that, it was the Stroll, an area of downtown Pittsburgh. I was reborn into a world of sex work, drugs, violence, and the ballroom scene. I even almost lost my life a few times due to risky situations I put myself into to obtain money for whatever I needed. I was a homeless transgender teen with no one to love her but the streets, and there is where I grew up. Families of transgender youth, I ask you to understand how important it is to embrace and love your child, no matter what, lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. The most hurtful thing in this world is not having the love of a mother or father because you weren't what they pictured you to be. It is possible to lose your child forever to senseless violence that could have been avoided. We deserve the love of the mother and father that created us, like any other child with what you may want to call a disability. It's not a disability, but a possibility to evolve. Evolution happens every day, and it's time people stop living in the 1600s and wake up to the 21st century, because I'm proud to be a part of evolution. It's Thursday night. We're downtown on the Stroll talking to some sisters. So we're here with China and out on the streets in downtown Pittsburgh, and we wanted to get her insight on what's going on in the city. Now, what are you doing down here tonight?
Basically, I just came down to, see the younger girls, I try to mentor to them, I've been around for some time now, so I just try to, do what I can do, show them, give them some direction, because a lot of girls out here don't have direction, or anyone to look up to, so I just come out and, support, so.
Right, so I would say it's apparent, that a lot of girls in the city are being involved with escorting. How do you feel that it affects the community as well as affects the younger girls in the city?
I would have to definitely say that, well, you have to start off first. It starts with family. A lot of these girls have been disowned by their mothers, their fathers, and other family and things like that. So it definitely starts there. But I would have to say that escorting affects our community because these are babies, back when you and I were, coming out and things like that. They're so much younger now. I was just talking to one of the girls. She was only 14, but to hear her story and to know how her family disowned her, So a lot of these girls that are out here by circumstance. They were forced out of their parents' house, disowned. So that's why they're out here, and it's sad because with the escorting, with everything you do, there's always a price or consequence. And a lot of the girls who are now HIV positive or AIDS or things like that, and other different STDs. So, they're just getting younger and younger. And it's sad, but I try to do my part as one of the older girls and try to give them some direction.
Well, first of all, I commend you. That takes a strong person to do something like that, and you deserve, that for people to know that, that someone is actually out here trying to, lead our youth into something better, something that they do need. Now, I think it's safe to say that if our trans youth had more of a stable home situation where their parents understood what being transgender was about, we wouldn't have a lot of girls in the streets. Do you agree with that?
I agree 100%. I agree 100%.
So I think, that's something to make apparent to everyone, in our communities, that if we had more understanding in families on the trans topic, we wouldn't have to go through as much, pain and torment that the young girls do go through. Okay. So how did you get involved in, being transgender? What's your story?
I would have to say that, how can I put this? I live a transgender lifestyle, but I'm not transgender fully yet. I would have to say it started when I was younger, being around a lot of my friends, and they would do drag and things like that, and I decided to do it one day, and it's like it stuck. But then it was more so, I never wanted to work, because I've come from a family that supports me with anything that I do, and I've always had a job. But in a sense that, it was, I was young, I was gay, I was passable, as a woman, and sort of wanting to date the different guys and stuff like that. So that's how I got into the lifestyle. But I can relate far as with escorting and things like that, because so many of my friends are escorts, and to hear their stories and the things that they go through, it wasn't for me. It wasn't a path that I took. But like I said, I live a transgender lifestyle, but I'm not fully transgender out to the world and the public. So
you identify as transgender, but you prefer to keep that discreet in a sense. Yeah. Okay, I completely understand that. That's awesome. So as far as, just the lifestyle as a whole, what do you feel like can be changed so we don't have our children down here, being involved in this?
I would have to say we need more transgender LGBT organizations, coming into the communities, downtown, and just giving these kids some direction. A lot of kids down here don't have any direction. They don't have any mothers or fathers, like I said before, and they just need some support. Someone to tell them that they love them, and to say, I'm not going to be judgmental and tell you how to make your money or not to be down here, but just be safe. Here's a condom. This is what you do. Just be safe, because it's dangerous down here. So just to support them, any little support makes a hell of a difference, so that's my main purpose, is just to come down here, support them, talk to them, ask them how their day was going. Sometimes just the little things mean so much, so that's why I choose to, come downtown and talk to the girls and see what they're going through, and just try to be some type of a support in their life.
So as we've discussed earlier, the relationship, with your trans child is so, so important. Just having someone to tell them, I love you, holding them, giving them a hug, those little things are very, very important, because if you push your child away, this will be their home. This will be their home. So we need to make that apparent. We need to get that out there into the community. We need to let mothers and fathers know this is going on. So I want to thank you so much, China. It's a pleasure. I love you so much. Thank you so much. So we are here with some of our patrons of the city. Introduce yourself and your age.
Corey Newby. I'm 18.
I'm Dayron Worthy, a.k.a. Jahada.
And your age?
18.
So we have some of our fresh youth, here, and we're going to get some insight from them and the struggles that may happen within the city, in the downtown city, the downtown area of Pittsburgh. So how do you guys feel about the escorting in the city as a whole?
As a whole, I feel like it's very complicated. Like, it's not very much money, but like you have to do what you have to do to get to where you want to get in life. So.
Well, I feel like it's gotten a little crazy, because there's so many trannies out here that want to have it. There's people coming in from other towns that want to have it, and they don't got it. And it's just like diseases are carrying left and right. It was just yesterday that I found out blue waffle was real. Like,
what's blue waffle?
Blue waffle is a disease that people get through fluids, or it's just nasty. It's nasty. It's gross. And I just been getting tired of seeing escorts. I was an escorting girl But I had to quit because it gets old, it gets boring, it gets tiring. There's days where you go home with no money if you ain't that good of a girl, and if you are that good of a girl, you need to watch what's in your pants after you was doing the date. Like, it gets real.
So, what specifically brought you guys down here, to want to be, I've been there. I know surviving by any means necessary is something that we go through. So, but I want to know from you guys' perspective, because you're part of the youth, what brought you down here?
What brought me down here was me and my mom had a fight, so like she kicked me out, like so like I come down here so I'll have something to eat the next day, I'll have some clothes to put on, like because I refuse to just be looking crazy in the summertime. Like I have to, and then the girls are so shady that you have to be on it, like. So I just come down here every night. Sometimes I work till 4 a.m, till the first bus run, and make my coin if there is some.
Well, this is for fun for me. Like, I come downtown to enjoy myself. All of my friends are down here. It's like, it's like our little way of having a little family reunion. Smoke a cigarette, smoke some weed, and like we would chill. And people would do people argue, fight, all of that, all downtown.
See, and this is the specific reason why I always say, just to make it apparent, that the mothers and fathers of transgender family and LGBT family, it's very important that they are educated on what's going on, because as you can see, our kids are here and our kids need help. Our families need educated on the subject so they can understand and be able to deal with the trans topic or LGBT topic, accordingly. So as far as drugs, how does that play a role, living this life? How does that affect you? Is it easier to get drugs, in this lead way?
It's easy to get drugs. If I felt like I wanted to do coke today, I can go get me some coke. If I felt like I wanted to do crack, I can go get me some crack. It's easy. But I don't do coke or I don't do crack. I only smoke marijuana and occasionally cigarettes. I'm trying to quit. But down here, you don't know what you get into. There's mollies out, there's drinking. Everybody got some sort of type of, like, people get into too much here. So it's either you're exposed to it or you already know about it and you already doing it.
For me, it is easy to get drugs, like, and it's easy to get caught up on it because it's so stressful to, like, every day, like, day in and day out, keep working.
So it kind of numbs the pain.
Yeah. Like when I do coke or when I do weed or I might take a molly, like it helps me cope with being down here all night and like to really realize what I'm doing, like getting in and out of cars, doing crazy stuff for a little bit of money. Like that's the craziest part to me. So it's easier to just take a whole bunch of molly, do a whole bunch of coke, smoke some weed, drink, and you be okay, like for that night. Wake up, do the same thing the next day.
Our youth are here. Our youth are crying out, for that help and that support from everyone, from our families, from the community. This is something that is greatly needed, something that we need to make apparent, to keep our kids off these streets. I do want to thank both of you, for being a part of this. It really will make a difference. After interviewing Honesty, this asshole bumps into her while walking down the street without saying excuse me, and only laughed at her when asked why didn't he excuse himself. The man flagged down the police, insisting that she was harassing him, lying to the authorities. The police reacted as if she was a suicide bomber, immediately detaining her and surrounding her. There were a total of 6 officers and 5 police cars for this scared, defenseless young transgender woman, just out here trying to make sure she's able to eat tonight. If we weren't there, the police would have treated her as a common criminal who does not know the law. The police misinformed her of her right to carry a taser, then stole her taser and left her defenseless downtown when it is legal to carry a taser in Pennsylvania. This young lady was afraid and misguided by the sole people who are appointed to protect and serve. So, in your own words, what took place just now?
I think it's a classic case of disrespect. Like a lot of the girls get disrespected nowadays, and it just gets so old to go through that day in and day out. So yes, I retaliated in a much more aggressive fashion than I really would like to, but I mean everything happens for a reason. Like,
and just one more time, how old are you?
18.
there we have it. We need to get our kids, out of places like this just to avoid the possible danger, that they are going through. This is very important. As you can see in the video clip, this needs to be addressed. This needs to stop. And we're here to stop it. Thank you again. I hope you feel better. You do not deserve that at all. Okay, and be safe, all right? All right. Love you. This is where I grew up. This was my bread and butter. For a young lady to have no one to love her, the love the streets gave was enough to fill that hole in my heart. I felt wanted and needed by people who only wanted to use me and date me for a half hour or hour. And I loved them too. Today in 2014, the struggle is still very real for a lot of our trans youth, as well as elder trans women who had no real positive guidance growing up. This does not have to be the future of our trans youth. These streets are raw and dangerous. Don't let the pretty lights fool you. Trans women get linked up with streets, sometimes never leave these streets. They die here, catch diseases here, overdose here, and this is only one block. There are transgender strolls all over the country, and all of these areas are dangerous, some more dangerous than others. These were the children of the city years ago, and now they're forced to hustle to survive. I myself pass no judgment upon anyone. I was here. I have no right to. But what we can ensure is that the children of today will not have to go through this, and as a means to exist. Also, saving those sisters that have gotten lost within the chains of society. This is where I slept that night with a group of my girlfriends trying to keep warm until the buses started running. This is something that needs to change. From all that mayhem, struggle, and negativity grew a strong, independent trans woman who does not want her trans youth to have to struggle or experience what I and a lot of trans women of my era and beyond had to go through. That's why being the founder of Sisters United is so important, to help aid and direct trans youth of African American descent and those of lower socioeconomic status, and also educating the families of trans women and men. I have a wonderful relationship with my family now, and all they needed was education on the trans subject to understand the depth of who I am. In this world, gender has been implanted to say if you have a penis, you're male. If you have a vagina, you're female. How is it fair to identify someone other than what they feel inside and identify as? Being transgender has no specific look. He or she may not look like what you identify to be a man or a woman, but understand he or she is a human being, the same as you. If I can give my trans sisters a more positive outlook on being who they are, as well as educating the heterosexual community that being transgender is not a freakish disease, I've done my job. Heterosexual women, like my beautiful mother, give birth to trans women and men. We all have mothers and fathers. All they need is a little understanding and education on the topic, so our future mothers and fathers will be prepared and knowledgeable if their child is transgender. On Thursday, June 3rd, 2014, Tiffany Edwards, a 28-year-old transgender woman of color, was found shot dead in Walnut Hills, Ohio, a suburb of Cincinnati. Tiffany's death marks the fourth trans woman of color murdered this month, and the fourth trans woman murdered in Ohio since January of 2014. Quamar Edwards, the lead suspect, turned himself in according